Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and next week we'll be getting some information regarding the next DLC, likely the roadmap too, and a message directly from Senior Game Director Richard Aldridge. This is all coming on the 26th of June, so next Wednesday. It's not too far now, but I've been thinking a lot about this because, well, if I can be honest with you, Creative Assembly do a lot of statements, do a lot of messages out, and it doesn't really answer a lot. And I feel like Creative Assembly do need to answer a few things, because we're all invested in this platform, we're all kind of curious as where this is going to go. We've had multiple statements in the past, including with Rich, where we had 3 DLCs planned out for last year, but that didn't work out because of the Shadows of Change issue. So while I'm still hyped up about it, don't get me wrong, I'm honestly a little cautious and a little curious. So let's talk about a few things. One thing that we have to talk about before anything is I don't expect Creative Assembly to talk about the leaks. Either the ones from Legend or the ones that came from Total War Axis or whatever news website said that Star Wars was coming next. There's no point talking about that because one, Creative Assembly wouldn't talk about that stuff anyway, but what they need to do and focus on most is looking forward. And the current topic for anything Total War related is Warhammer and Pharaoh. Now, I don't imagine we'll get any Pharaoh news because Pharaoh news has been popping up on a pretty much weekly basis, so Warhammer has to be center stage here. So the first thing I think we all want to know is just how much content is actually left for this game. There's always been some talks, hell, I think he even said it in an interview with myself, that there was like 3 to 5 years, but that was, a year ago? There has been barely any content coming out. It feels more like 2 years worth of content in the space of 3 to 5 years. Now, I'm not saying confirming everything that's coming out. Obviously, the nature of game design does change. It's very clear, considering that the next DLC on the original roadmap was supposed to be Slaanesh, and it's been changed for Khorne. But I would love to, and I think you guys would love to know, if there is 3 to 5 years left, and realistically, how much we can expect. It doesn't have to be, the next DLC after Khorne is going to be, I don't know, Fishmen, and the next after that is going to be a Halfling race pack or whatever, but rather, we've got an outline. It could change, but this is what we're mostly hoping for in terms of how many content packs we're going to release. The reason why I'm saying this is because it quells the rumors going, there's only like 2 DLCs left, there's only 5 DLCs left. It becomes a source of panic, which obviously needs to be discussed because they could be true, but those rumors will fester as long as they don't actually talk about it. This one isn't a big one, but it can be expanded upon further. I would like to know why Creative Assembly decided, the Slaanesh DLC needs to be moved in favor of Khorne, Greenskins, and Ogres. They don't have to give a flat-out answer, because I doubt they would. Creative Assembly keeps saying that they're going to do more communication, but they never really do. But this would be the perfect time for them to explain the change of nature in regards to how game design changes, plans changes, but go into detail. Remember just a small while back when we had a hotfix going into detail, extremely detailed stuff regarding the frostworms and so on? Well, that's the kind of things that we want from communication, because it actually does bring to light a lot of what it was supposed to be for, why it was ultimately changed, and so on and so forth. That information is actually quite valuable to us as consumers of this product, as people who invest not only time, but money into this setting. Hell, even I have a little theory that the Slaanesh DLC wasn't Slaanesh, High Elves, and Dark Elves like most people have been wanting. Creative Assembly saw the demand for that and went, hell, maybe we should do that instead. But it's going to take some time, so we have to push this in the other direction at the moment until we can get it ready. Another thing I'd love for them to outline is how they actually pick the next DLCs. What thought process goes into it. Stuff like that is actually very valuable for us. Not just for Total War Warhammer 3, because, we are probably getting near the end. Again, that's just an educated guess, considering that eventually this title is going to have to end and they've lost a lot of time, unless things change, but more so for future games. If Total War 40k does happen, which I very much believe it's going to happen, it could kind of temper expectations on how DLC happens. Is it done with a greater outline plan, or is it just kind of random in like a very similar sense to how that South Park episode outlined with the manatees, how the Family Guy writers do an episode? It's just good information to know, because we've seen this with Warhammer 3, it's all been kind of random. Randomness has been a thing for a while now, like Three Kingdoms, the DLCs weren't really following the story. So I think a bit of clarity actually does go a long way, especially if people are going to be investing in these super games, essentially, where hundreds of pounds, euros, dollars, whatever your currency is being put into this. Someone recently said that the series as a whole costs around 300 to 400 euros, and people are willing to spend that money. It's very obvious, but naturally people are going to be very cautious right now, especially after all the recent happenings. The last thing I'd like is really just some communication regarding IP. So we know that we can't get anything regarding Warhammer the Old World because Games Workshop consider it a different IP, despite the fact that it's still a Warhammer fantasy setting and yep, but that's GW being GW. Now in the past, Creative Assembly have stated that the End Time stuff is a different IP as per Games Workshop. However, that I imagine might change. There have been loads and loads of rumors regarding the End Times DLC being the last DLC of the franchise before we move on to the next title and so on, which does obviously make sense. The End Times has a bunch of really cool units that people do want. Putrid Blight Kings, the Wrathmongers, Skull Reapers, Thanquol, Nagash's version, you know, the whole End Times Nagash, the Morghast, and we could keep on listing stuff, to be honest. But yeah, now, does that actually fall under a different IP? Has that changed? Mostly because, well, we do have some End Time stuff in-game already. Some character stuff, like the models for Archon, some units which were for Elfar in the Grim. So it would just be nice to see some confirmation regarding that, purely because, again, it tempers expectations and it allows us to go, okay, cool, so End Times is a thing. People can be hyped about that. Not the story of the End Times, obviously, but the End Times units. That's the big distinction. The units, are they going to be usable? Oh, and regarding the upcoming Khorne, Greenskin, and Ogre DLC, it's not a deal breaker, but it would be nice if they outlined it properly when we would see it next. We're going to find out about that next week, but it's usually the case where they go later this year, and it's like, well, you know, there's still a lot of this year left to go. But a little bit of a ballpark would be nice, I think, just to kind of get everyone going a little bit. People are excited, but they're also like, well, when's this going to happen? Because there's like people talking, going, oh yeah, this might come out in December or something. I very much doubt it. I think that they're going to try and get some DLCs out as fast as possible, so then we can end up with one here and then at the beginning of next year, so they still are getting free DLCs out every financial year. I'll be honest with you, the reason why I'm actually making this video is because I'm kind of jealous. I know that sounds pretty like petty and stuff, but yeah, CA Sophia with Pharaoh have been communicating a lot. Yes, they did go dark for a while, but they've been throwing info dumps all over the place for the map expansion and so on, which we didn't really get during the Immortal Empires launch. You know, that was more, hey, start position here, start position there, right? There was a lot of information, and there's still a lot of information coming out for Pharaoh's updates, which sounds fairly exciting. Even I'm interested in Pharaoh now, because it looks like it's going to be what people have actually been asking for. And yeah, they've been updating stuff with various different things. They've even gone like, oh yeah, we changed the faction icon because you guys complained. This now suits it better. We agree. That stuff is so good when it comes to hearing from the developer that you're wanting to purchase from, that you want to actually support. And that's the communication level that I want to see for Warhammer. Not just for Warhammer Fantasy, but like not just even Warhammer, right? Like everything, actually. I was about to say for 40k in the future, but no, this should be the level of communication moving forward for every title in the Total War franchise, the ones that are active at the very least, because that's going to buy a lot of favor from the community, and it's going to make us trust you a little bit more. It's all well and good to go, hey, you know, we're going to communicate more, and then they don't, but when they actually follow through, like what CA Sophia has been doing, it does buy a lot more, it does just buy a lot more favor. Ultimately, they don't have to answer everything or anything, really, but it would just be nice for them to actually give us the communication that was promised last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, you know. It's been a while, but I honestly do believe if they start bringing out Pharaoh levels of communication, it will be better for Warhammer, and it'll be better for CA overall. It's something that they've always lacked on, let's be very honest here, and I'm hoping they've learned from the past mistakes. I have a lot of faith in these guys ever since Thrones of Decay, pretty much. If that DLC wasn't as good as it was, I would have probably just said, yep, it's looking like the end. But I'm going to keep optimistic, and hopefully next week provides us with the information we all want. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe you guys need different types of information. You want different types of information. I do know that Creative Assembly watch these videos. Believe me, I've had responses from CA before. So maybe they could look towards this and go, yeah, maybe this comment is right and we need to talk about this. Maybe we need to talk about that. Here's hoping for the best. Have a great day, guys. I do apologize for the lack of content lately. There's been construction. You've probably been hearing it a little bit in this video. It's the estate right next to me. It's super loud. It's been awful. They've been working constantly, and I've barely been able to get any sleep lately. So, yeah. I'm going to try my best to keep as consistent as possible. Don't you worry if news drops. I'll just scream at the window and tell them to stop for like 5 minutes. But have a great day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon.